Hi everybody. I had a good question the other day from a username Fortitude Valence 84. It's quite an interesting question. I've heard it once before. What is the fastest shaft-driven motorcycle? I suppose we'd have to sort of like decide whether we meant fastest top speed, because obviously some are limited, as is the VFR 1200, and also do we mean fastest by quarter mile or roll-on. There's many aspects to it, but generally if one is top in one area, it usually does well in all the others. So off the top of my head, what came to mind initially was the Ariel ASR, which it's a production motorcycle but limited production from a very small company, and they use the VFR engine modified, but they use the shaft drive as well. And I think the ASR has a quarter top speed of 300 kilometers an hour, which is I think 186. So I think that would be the fastest out there. But of course, I think what the question really meant was in mainstream production. Well, certainly the VFR 1200 is up there, but I think at the top of the tree is probably the BMW K1300S. It's got a higher top speed than the Honda, maybe because the Honda is limited. I don't know whether the BMW is limited at all. It's got a slightly bigger engine and probably around 3 or 5 brake horsepower at the crank, more than the VFR. So I would think if you looked at all the figures for that bike, it probably would probably just pick the VFR in performance. So I think with my research, correct me if I'm wrong, that is probably the fastest shaft-driven production motorcycle out there. All of the others falling closely behind, as I say. Don't forget the K1300 GT, which I think is detuned slightly. That's still a very powerful shaft drive, quite a rare bike really. Then we've probably got the VFR 1200, and behind that there'll be the Kawasaki 1400 GTR, the FGR 1300. They're probably just a bit down on power on the VFR, and the extra weight will probably make them slower. We have of course got the big K1600 BMW, but again, because of its weight, it's not going to be the fastest. I think that puts out about, I think that's 160 brake horsepower at the crank, certainly the later ones. But we haven't really had a lot of really fast shaft-driven bikes. Back in the 70s we had the Le Mans, the Motor Guzzi Le Mans 850, which had a shaft drive, and indeed the very exotic MV Agusta 750 America, that also had a shaft drive. But there hasn't been many what you would class as sports performance bike that have got a shaft drive. If you come down the speed pecking order a little bit, obviously you've got your RT 1250 BMWs, and of course the R1200 RS, which is around about 135 brake horsepower at the crank. We've also got the Honda Pan-European, which isn't designed to kick out a lot of horsepower, so that certainly isn't going to be the fastest, even though it's a very, very capable bike, as we know. So that's sort of like a few I've rattled off there, which certainly will be fast shaft-driven motorbikes. But my money's on that Ariel ASR, and if you want to suggest a full production motorcycle, yeah, it's probably going to be the BMW K1300S. Although, you know, the old VFR's not far behind it. Don't think I've missed any out, so drop me a comment if there's one you can think of. I'll catch you later. Bye.